Every morning, Chinwe woke up before the sun. She fetched water from the stream. She swept the compound. She prepared breakfast for the entire household. She did everything a good daughter should do. But no matter how hard she worked, no matter how kind she was, the village only saw one thing when they looked at her: ugliness. Her skin was covered in dark patches. Her face was swollen in places that made no sense. Her eyes seemed dull, like a lamp with no oil. Her hair refused to grow past her ears, and what little she had was thin and brittle like dry grass. Children ran away when they saw her coming. Young men turned their faces. Even the old women at the market whispered behind her back, "What a pity! Such an ugly gal! Her mother was so beautiful. How did she produce this one? No man will ever marry her. She will die alone in her father's house." Chinwe heard every whisper. She felt every stare, but she never complained. She simply lowered her head and continued walking. But Chinwe was not born ugly. There was a time when she was the most beautiful child in the entire village. There was a time when women stopped her mother on the road just to admire her face. There was a time when people said she would grow up to marry a king. So what happened? What changed? It all began with a single gift, a string of beads her stepmother placed around her neck when she was only 7 years old. Let us go back to where it all began. If you love stories like this, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss another tale. Now, let us continue. Chinwe was born on a night when the moon was full and bright. The village midwife said it was a sign. A child born under such a moon was destined for greatness. Her mother, Adana, held her newborn daughter and wept with joy. "She is perfect," Adana whispered, touching the baby's smooth skin. "Absolutely perfect." And she was. As Chinwe grew, her beauty became the talk of the village. By the time she was 3, women would stop Adana in the market just to look at her daughter. "This child is not ordinary," they would say. "They look like she was carved by the gods themselves." Chinwe had skin that glowed like polished bronze. Her eyes were large and bright, full of light and curiosity. Her smile could warm the coldest heart. Even her laughter sounded like music. Mazi Okonkwo was the proudest father in the village. He would carry Chinwe on his shoulders and parade through the market, grinning at everyone who stopped to admire his daughter. "This is my precious jewel," he would announce. "One day, kings will come from far lands to ask for her hand." Life was good. The family was happy. Adana tended her garden, Mazi Okonkwo traded in palm oil, and little Chinwe grew more beautiful with each passing day. But happiness, like the morning dew, does not last forever. When Chinwe was 6 years old, her mother fell ill. It started with a cough, then fever, then weakness that would not go away. The village herbalist tried everything. Prayers were offered, sacrifices were made, but nothing worked. One evening as the sun was setting, Adana called her daughter to her bedside. "Chinwe," she whispered, her voice weak. "My beautiful child, come closer." Chinwe climbed onto the bed and laid her head on her mother's chest. "Mama, are you going somewhere?" the little girl asked. Adana's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, my child, I am going on a long journey, but I will always watch over you from where I am going." Chinwe did not understand. "When will you come back?" Adana kissed her daughter's forehead. I will not come back, my love, but I will always be with you, in the wind, in the rain, in the songs of the birds. Whenever you feel alone, just close your eyes and think of me. I will be there." That night, Adana closed her eyes and did not open them again. The village mourned, women wailed, men shook their heads in sorrow, but no one mourned more than little Chinwe, who did not fully understand why her mother would not wake up. Mazi Okonkwo was devastated. He locked himself in his room for days. When he finally emerged, he was a shadow of the man he used to be. His eyes were empty. His laughter was gone. He moved through life like someone walking in a dream. The village elders gathered and advised him to marry again. They said, "A child needs a mother. You cannot raise a daughter alone. Find a wife to help you." At first, Mazi Okonkwo refused. He could not imagine replacing Adana, but as months passed, he realized he could not cope. Chinwe needed care that he could not provide. She needed a woman's touch. So he agreed to marry again. And that was how Ugomma entered their lives.
Ugomma was a widow from a neighboring village. She had been married before, but her husband had died without giving her children. The villagers whispered that she was barren, but Mazi Okonkwo did not care. He was not looking for more children. He was looking for someone to care for Chinwe. Ugomma was beautiful in a sharp, cold way. Her features were perfect, but there was no warmth in her eyes. Her smile never quite reached her face. She spoke sweetly, but her words had edges. When she first arrived at Mazi Okonkwo's compound, she knelt before him and promised to be a good wife. "I will take care of your daughter as if she were my own," she said. "I will love her and protect her and guide her." Mazi Okonkwo believed her. He was desperate to believe her. For the first few months, Ugomma played her role well. She cooked delicious meals. She kept the house clean. She braided Chinwe's hair and dressed her in pretty clothes. Everyone praised Mazi Okonkwo for choosing such a wonderful wife. But Ugomma was watching, waiting, planning. She saw how the village adored Chinwe. She saw how people stopped to admire the child's beauty. She saw how Mazi Okonkwo's eyes lit up whenever he looked at his daughter. And jealousy began to grow in her heart like a poisonous vine. "Why should this child have everything?" Ugomma whispered to herself at night. "Beauty, love, attention, while I have nothing. No children, no legacy, nothing." She thought of her own life. Her first husband had treated her like a servant. When he died, his family had thrown her out with nothing. She had wandered from village to village looking for a man to marry her. Most had rejected her because she was barren. Mazi Okonkwo was her last hope. His wealth, his status, his comfortable home, these were the things she had always wanted. But Chinwe stood in her way. As long as Chinwe was beautiful, she would remain the center of attention. As long as Chinwe was loved, Ugomma would always be second. As long as Chinwe existed, Ugomma would never truly have Mazi Okonkwo to herself. Something had to be done. One evening, when Mazi Okonkwo was away on a trading trip, Ugomma sat in her room and counted her options. She could not kill the child. That would be too obvious, too risky. If anyone suspected, she would be finished. She could not send her away. Mazi Okonkwo loved his daughter too much. He would never agree. But what if the child was no longer beautiful? What if she became so ugly that people stopped admiring her? What if she became an embarrassment instead of a treasure? A wicked smile spread across Ugomma's face. She knew exactly what to do. The next morning, Ugomma traveled to the next village, walking deep into the forest where ordinary people did not go. There, hidden among the ancient trees, lived a woman known only as Mama Midnight. Mama Midnight was not a herbalist. She was not a healer. She was something darker, something the villagers feared to speak about. She dealt in curses, in dark magic, in things that came from the shadows. Ugomma had heard whispers about her for years. Now she sought her out. The old woman's hut was surrounded by bones and strange carvings. Smoke rose from inside, thick and foul-smelling. When she entered, she found Mama Midnight sitting in the darkness, her eyes glowing like embers. "I know why you have come," the old woman said, her voice like rustling leaves. "You want to destroy a child's beauty." Ugomma swallowed her fear. "Yes, can you help me?" The old woman laughed, a sound that made Ugomma's skin crawl. "I can do many things, but everything has a price. Are you willing to pay?" "Anything," Ugomma said quickly. "I will pay anything." The old woman studied her a long moment. Then she reached into a clay pot beside her and pulled out a string of beads. They were black as night, each bead carved with tiny symbols that seemed to writhe in the dim light. "These are the beads of concealment," the old woman said. "Place them around the child, and her beauty will be hidden from the world. Her skin will become marked, her face will swell, her eyes will lose their light. Everyone who sees her will see only ugliness." Ugomma's eyes widened with greed. "And she will never be beautiful again?" Ugomma asked with greed. "As long as she wears the beads, her true face will remain hidden. But be warned," the old woman added, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The beads can only work if the child accepts them willingly. You must give them as a gift. If she rejects them, the curse will fall on you instead." Ugomma eagerly nodded. "She is just a child. She will accept whatever I give her." The old woman handed over the beads. "Take them, and remember, once the curse is in place, only the child herself can break it. If she ever removes them willingly, her true beauty will return." Ugomma clutched the beads tightly. "She will never remove them, I promise." She paid the old woman with gold coins she had stolen from Maziokonkwo's trading chest. Then she hurried home, her heart pounding with wicked excitement. That evening, she called Chinwe to her room. "Chinwe, my dear," Ugomma said sweetly, "I have a gift for you." The 7-year-old girl looked up with innocent eyes. "A gift, Mama?" Ugomma smiled. It was the first time Chinwe had called her Mama. The word felt like victory. "Yes, my child. These belonged to my grandmother. She was a very beautiful woman, and she wore these beads every day. She told me that whoever wears them will be blessed forever." She held out the black beads. In the lamplight, they looked almost pretty. Chinwe hesitated. Something about the beads made her feel strange. They seemed to pulse in Ugomma's hand, like a living thing. "Go on," Ugomma encouraged. "Take them. They are yours now." Chinwe slowly reached out and took the beads. They felt cold in her small hands, unnaturally cold. "Let me help you put them on," Ugomma said quickly. Before Chinwe could respond, Ugomma fastened the beads around her neck. The moment the clasp closed, Chinwe felt a strange sensation wash over her, like cold water pouring down her spine. "There," Ugomma said, stepping back to admire her work. "Perfect. Now you are truly blessed." Chinwe touched the beads at her throat. They felt heavy, wrong, but she smiled anyway, wanting to please her stepmother. "Thank you, Mama." Ugomma's smile widened. "You are welcome, my dear. Now, go to bed. And remember, never take those beads off. They are very precious. If you remove them, terrible things will happen." Chinwe nodded obediently. "I will never remove them, Mama. I promise." That night, as Chinwe slept, the curse began its work. By morning, the first dark patches had appeared
on her skin. It happened slowly at first. Chinwe woke up the next morning feeling tired, even though she had slept well. When she looked at her reflection in the water basin, she noticed a small, dark spot on her cheek. "Mama, what is this?" she asked, touching her face. Ugomma pretended to look concerned. "Oh, it is nothing. Probably just a rash. It will go away." But it did not go away. Over the following weeks, more patches appeared. They spread across her face, down her neck, over her arms. Her skin, once smooth and glowing, became rough and uneven. Her cheeks began to swell. Her eyes lost their brightness. Ugomma was alarmed. He took Chinwe to every herbalist in the region. They gave her potions and pastes and healing baths. Nothing worked. "This is not a natural sickness," one old herbalist said, shaking his head. "This is something else, something dark." But no one could figure out what it was. By the time Chinwe turned 8, she was unrecognizable. The beautiful child who had once been the pride of the village was gone. In her place was a girl covered in marks, her face misshapen, her eyes dull and lifeless. The village children were cruel, as children often are. "Ugly Chinwe," they would chant when she passed. "Ugly duckling, go back to the river where you belong." They threw stones at her. They refused to play with her. They made her life miserable. The adults were not much better. They whispered behind her back. They avoided her in the market. Some even said she was cursed by the gods. Her mother's spirit must be punishing her, some claimed. "No, it is her father's enemies," others argued. "Perhaps she was never beautiful at all. Perhaps we only imagined it." Ugomma withdrew further into himself. He could not bear to look at his daughter and remember what she had once been. He spent more time away on trading trips, leaving Chinwe alone with Ugomma. And Ugomma was finally happy. With Chinwe's beauty gone, Ugomma became the center of attention. She wore fine clothes, she adorned herself with jewelry, she walked through the village like a queen, accepting compliments and admiration. "Poor man," people said about Ugomma. "His daughter is so unfortunate. At least he has a beautiful wife to comfort him." Ugomma smiled and agreed. Meanwhile, Chinwe suffered in silence. She did all the housework. She cooked and cleaned and fetched water. She was treated worse than a servant. But she never complained. She never cried where anyone could see. At night, alone in her small room, she would touch the beads around her neck and wonder why she had been cursed. "Mama," she would whisper into the darkness, thinking of her real mother. "Are you still watching me? Can you see what has happened to me?" Sometimes she felt a warm breeze brush against her cheek, like a gentle hand comforting her, and she would close her eyes and pretend her mother was still there. Years passed. Chinwe grew into a young woman, but her appearance did not improve. If anything, it grew worse. The marks became darker, her hair remained thin and patchy, her eyes stayed dull and lifeless. She was 18 years old now, old enough to marry, but no man in the village would look at her twice. I will die alone, she thought to herself. I will grow old in my father's house, unwanted and unloved. But fate had other plans. In the great kingdom beyond the forest, there lived a prince named Ugomma. Prince Ugomma was everything a prince should be. Tall, handsome, kind, brave. He was loved by his people and respected by his enemies. But despite all his qualities, he had one problem. He could not find a wife. It was not for lack of trying. His father, the king, had paraded every beautiful maiden in the kingdom before him. Princesses from distant lands had come to seek his hand. Wealthy merchants had offered their daughters with huge dowries. But Prince Ugomma rejected them all. I am not looking for beauty alone, he would tell his father. I am looking for a heart, a woman who is kind and genuine, a woman who will love me for who I am, not for my crown. His father was frustrated. You are too idealistic, my son. Such a woman does not exist. Choose a wife before I choose one for you. But Prince Ugomma refused to settle. One night he had a dream. In the dream he saw a young woman standing by a river. She was surrounded by golden light, and she was the most beautiful creature he had ever seen. But her face was hidden, covered by shadows. A voice spoke to him. Go to the village of Umweze. There you will find your bride. But beware, for true beauty is often hidden from ordinary eyes. Look with your heart, not with your eyes. Prince Ugomma woke up with the dream burning in his mind. He called his most trusted adviser and told him about the vision. Umweze, the adviser said, frowning. That is a small village on the edge of the kingdom. There is nothing special there. Perhaps not, Prince Ugomma replied, but I must go. The dream was too clear to ignore. The adviser tried to dissuade him, but the prince's mind was made up. He would travel to Umweze disguised as a common traveler. He would observe the people without them knowing who he was. He would find the woman from his dream. 3 days later, Prince Ugomma arrived in Umweze, dressed in simple clothes, with only 2 guards accompanying him disguised. No one recognized him as royalty. He walked through the village, observing everything. He saw the market with its bustling traders. He saw the children playing by the square. He saw the young women fetching water from the stream. But none of them called to his heart. Then, on his 3rd day in the village, he saw Chinwe.
Chinwe was at the stream, filling her clay pot with water. She walked slowly, carefully, trying to avoid the other women who always moved away when she approached. Prince Ugomma saw her from a distance. At first, he saw what everyone else saw. A girl with marked skin and dull eyes, someone the world had deemed ugly. But as he watched her, something strange happened. A golden light seemed to flicker around her, just for a moment, just a flash, but he saw it, the same light from his dream. He approached her cautiously. "Good afternoon," he said politely. Chinwe looked up startled. She was not used to people speaking to her, especially strangers. She instinctively lowered her head, hiding her face. "Good afternoon, sir," she replied quietly. "My name is Ugomma," the prince said, using his first name only. "I am a traveler passing through your village. I am thirsty. Would you share some water with me?" Chinwe hesitated. No one ever asked her for anything. They usually avoided her like she carried a disease. "Of course," Chinwe said softly, lifting her pot. "Please drink." As Prince Ikenna drank, he studied her more closely. Yes, her skin was marked. Yes, her face was swollen in places. But there was something in her eyes, something deep and hidden that the marks could not conceal. Kindness, patience, a gentle spirit that had survived years of cruelty. "Thank you," he said, returning the pot. "What is your name?" "Chinwe," she replied, still not meeting his eyes. "Chinwe," he repeated, "that is a beautiful name. It means God's own. Did you know that?" Chinwe looked up briefly, surprised. "Yes, my mother named me." Prince Ikenna smiled. "Your mother must have been a wise woman." For the first time in years, Chinwe felt something warm in her chest. This stranger was speaking to her like a normal person, not an ugly duckling, not a cursed child, just a person. "She was," Chinwe whispered. "She was the best mother in the world." They talked for a long time by the stream. Chinwe forgot about her pot. She forgot about her chores. She forgot about everything except this kind stranger who seemed genuinely interested in what she had to say. When the sun began to set, Prince Ikenna stood up reluctantly. "I must go, but I would like to see you again if you will allow me." Chinwe's heart raced. "Why? Why would you want to see me?" Prince Ikenna looked at her with warm eyes. "Because you are the first person in this village who has spoken to me with genuine kindness, and I believe there is more to you than what the world sees." He walked away, leaving Chinwe standing by the stream, her heart beating faster than it had in years. Over the following weeks, Prince Ikenna returned to the stream every day. He and Chinwe talked for hours, hidden from the village's prying eyes. Chinwe told him about her life, about her mother's death, about Ugomma's cruelty, about the beads she had worn since childhood, about the loneliness and the pain and the whispers that followed her everywhere. Prince Ikenna listened without judgment. He never once looked at her with pity or disgust. He looked at her like she was precious, like she mattered. "Have you ever tried to remove the beads?" he asked one day. Chinwe touched her neck instinctively. "No, my stepmother told me terrible things would happen if I removed them. She said they were blessed by her grandmother, and removing them would bring a curse." The prince frowned. Something about this story did not feel right. "And you believed her?" Chinwe lowered her head. "I was only 7 years old. I believed everything she told me." The prince reached out and gently touched her hand. "Chinwe, what if she lied? What if those beads are not a blessing but a curse? What if they are the reason for everything that has happened to you?" Chinwe's eyes widened. The thought had never occurred to her. She had worn the beads for so long that they felt like part of her body. "But why would she curse me?" Chinwe whispered. "What did I ever do to her?" The prince squeezed her hand gently. "Some people do not need a reason to hate. Some people are simply consumed by jealousy and bitterness. They destroy others because they cannot stand to see them happy." Tears filled Chinwe's eyes. For the first time, someone had spoken the truth she had always felt but never understood. "Remove the beads, Chinwe," the prince urged. "Free yourself from whatever hold they have on you. I will be right here beside you." Chinwe's hand trembled as she reached for the beads at her neck. She had worn them for 11 years. She had never once tried to remove them. Her fingers found the clasp. It felt warm, almost hot, as if the beads knew what she was trying to do. "I cannot," she gasped, pulling her hands away. The prince held both her hands firmly. "You are stronger than whatever is holding you. I believe in you, Chinwe. Now believe in yourself." Chinwe closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's face. She thought of the beautiful child she had once been. She thought of all the years of suffering, all the laughter she had been denied, all the love she had never received. "I am God's own," she whispered to herself. "I am Chinwe, and I will not be held prisoner anymore." With a sudden surge of strength, she grabbed the beads and pulled. The clasp snapped, the beads scattered on the ground, and something miraculous happened. Light exploded from Chinwe's body, golden and pure. It surrounded her like a cocoon, lifting her into the air. Prince Ugomma shielded his eyes, unable to look directly at the brightness. When the light faded, he lowered his hands and gasped. Standing before him was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her skin glowed like polished bronze, flawless and radiant. Her hair cascaded down her back in thick, lustrous waves. Her face was perfectly shaped, every feature in harmony. She was the woman from his dream. "Chinwe?" he whispered in disbelief. Chinwe looked at her hands, her arms, her reflection in the water. Tears streamed down her face. "This is me," she sobbed. "This is who I really am." Prince Ugomma fell to his knees before her. "You are magnificent. You are the one I have been searching for." Before Chinwe could respond, a terrible scream echoed through the forest.
Back in the village, Ugomma collapsed in the middle of the market. The moment Chinwe removed the beads, Ugomma felt it. A searing pain shot through her body like fire burning her from the inside. She fell to the ground, screaming and writhing. "What is happening to her?" the villagers shouted, gathering around. Ugomma's skin began to change. Dark patches appeared on her face. Her cheeks swelled. Her eyes grew dull. All the ugliness she had inflicted on Chinwe for 11 years was now transferring to her. "The curse!" Ugomma screamed. "The curse has returned!" Mazio Okonkwo rushed to her side. "Ugomma, what are you talking about? What curse?" Ugomma clutched at him desperately. "Chinwe! The beads! She removed them! She has broken the curse!" Mazio Okonkwo's face went pale. "What beads? What did you do to my daughter?" But Ugomma could not answer. She was too consumed by the pain. Her beauty was draining away, replaced by the ugliness she had stolen from Chinwe. At that moment, Chinwe and Prince Ugomma arrived at the village square. The entire crowd fell silent. No one recognized her at first. She was too beautiful, too radiant, too different from the ugly duckling they had mocked for years. "Who is that goddess?" someone whispered. "Is she a spirit? She looks like the queen of the river." Then one old woman squinted her eyes and gasped, "Wait, that is Chinwe. That is Okonkwo's daughter." Murmurs spread through the crowd like wildfire. "Impossible! She was so ugly! What kind of magic is this?" Chinwe walked through the crowd with her head held high. She had spent years lowering her eyes, hiding her face, making herself invisible. Not anymore. She stopped in front of her father, who stared at her with tears streaming down his face. "Chinwe, my daughter," he whispered. "Yes, Papa, it is me, the real me." Mazio Okonkwo fell to his knees, sobbing. "My child, my beautiful child, what happened? How is this possible?" Chinwe looked at Ugomma, who was lying on the ground, her face now covered with the same marks that had plagued Chinwe for 11 years. "Ask your wife.
Chinwe said coldly. "Ask her about the beads she gave me on my 7th birthday. Ask her about the curse she placed on me to steal my beauty and destroy my life." All eyes turned to Ugomma. "Is this true?" Maziokonkwo demanded, his voice shaking with anger. "Did you curse my daughter?" Ugomma could not deny it. The evidence was all over her face. The curse she had paid for with stolen gold had returned to its sender. I was jealous," she wept. "She had everything. Beauty, love. You never looked at me the way you looked at her. I wanted to be the only woman in your life. I wanted to be the center of your world." Maziokonkwo stood up slowly, his face twisted with disgust. "You are a monster," he said quietly. "You destroyed my daughter's life because of jealousy. You made me abandon her. You turned my house into a prison." He turned to the village elders. "Take her away. She is no longer my wife. She is no longer welcome in this village." The elders nodded in agreement. Ugomma was dragged away, screaming and begging for mercy. But no one listened. No one cared. She had brought this upon herself. As the commotion settled, Prince Ikenna stepped forward. "People of Umweze," Prince Ikenna announced in a commanding voice. The villagers turned to look at him confused. Who was this stranger who had arrived with Chinwe? Prince Ikenna removed his simple cloak, revealing royal garments underneath. He pulled out a medallion bearing the king's seal. "I am Prince Ikenna, son of King Obiora, heir to the throne of Aladinma." Gasps echoed through the crowd. People fell to their knees. "Your Highness," they cried, "forgive us. We did not know." Prince Ikenna raised his hand for silence. "I came to this village in disguise, searching for a bride. I was led here by a dream, and I found exactly what I was looking for." He turned to Chinwe and took her hand. "I found a woman of true beauty, not the beauty that fades with time, but the beauty that shines from within. Kindness, patience, strength, grace, these are the qualities I have searched for all my life." He knelt before her, in front of the entire village. "Chinwe, daughter of Maziokonkwo, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Will you be my princess and one day my queen?" Tears streamed down Chinwe's face. She could hardly believe what was happening. The girl who had been mocked and rejected her entire life was now being asked to marry a prince. She looked at her father, who nodded with tears in his eyes. She looked at the villagers, who watched in stunned silence. She looked at the prince, who gazed at her with pure love and admiration. "Yes," she whispered, "yes, I will marry you." The village erupted in cheers. Women ululated, men clapped, children danced in circles. The ugly duckling of the village had become a princess. The royal wedding was the grandest celebration the kingdom had ever seen. Kings and queens from distant lands came to witness. Chiefs and elders brought gifts of gold and ivory. Musicians played for 7 days and 7 nights. Chinwe was dressed in the finest silk, adorned with coral beads and gold jewelry. But no matter how many treasures they placed on her, her true beauty outshone them all. When she walked into the royal hall, every guest rose to their feet. Whispers of admiration filled the air. "She is stunning!" Like a goddess descended from heaven. The prince chose well. Maziokonkwo watched from the front row, tears streaming down his face. His daughter, the child he had nearly abandoned, was now marrying a prince. "Your mother would be so proud," he whispered to her during a quiet moment.
Chinwe smiled through her tears. "I know, Papa. I feel her here with me." The ceremony was beautiful. Vows were exchanged, blessings were pronounced. When the prince placed the crown on Chinwe, the crowd erupted in celebration. From that day forward, Chinwe was no longer the ugly duckling. She was Princess Chinwe, the most beautiful woman in the kingdom. And later, when Prince Ikena became king, she became Queen Chinwe, beloved by all her people. She never forgot where she came from. She used her position to help orphans and widows. She built schools and hospitals. She visited villages and listened to the people's problems. And whenever she met a child who felt ugly or unwanted, she would kneel down and whisper, "You are beautiful. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. True beauty comes from within." As for Ugomma, her fate was sealed by her own wickedness. After being banished from the village, she wandered from place to place, begging for food and shelter. Her cursed appearance made people run from her. No one would take her in. She lived in misery for many years, haunted by guilt and regret. Eventually, she found her way to a small church on the outskirts of a distant town. An old priest took pity on her and allowed her to stay. She spent her final days confessing her sins and praying for forgiveness. On her deathbed, she asked the priest to deliver a message to Queen Chinwe. The letter read, "My daughter, I have wronged you in ways that words cannot express. I was consumed by jealousy and bitterness. I destroyed your childhood. I stole years of happiness from you. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I ask for it anyway. May you live a long and blessed life. May your children never know the pain I caused you. I am sorry, truly sorry." When Chinwe received the letter, she wept, not for Ugomma's death, but for all the wasted years, all the pain that could have been avoided. She wrote a reply, even though Ugomma would never read it. "I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. Carrying hatred is too heavy a burden. I choose to let go and move forward. Rest in peace." And she did move forward. She lived a long and happy life with Prince Ikena. They had 4 beautiful children who inherited their mother's inner and outer beauty. The kingdom prospered under their rule, and the legend of the ugly duckling who became a queen was told for generations. Not everything that appears as a gift is truly a blessing. Some gifts carry hidden curses designed to destroy you. Be careful what you accept from others, especially those whose smiles do not reach their eyes. But more importantly, remember this: your true beauty can never be stolen. It can be hidden, it can be suppressed, it can be covered by lies and curses, but it can never be destroyed. One day the truth will come out. One day the curse will be broken. One day the world will see you for who you really are. Do not give up. Do not let the words of cruel people define you. Do not believe the lies that others speak over your life. You are God's own. You are precious. You are beautiful. And no curse is strong enough to change that. Did you enjoy this story? If you did, please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful tale like this one. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever felt like an ugly duckling? How did you discover your true beauty? I want to hear your story. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Stay blessed.